Amid the political tension in Minnesota, an expert in moral capitalism who recently met with the new Pope explains how the social teachings of the Catholic Church can help. Next. Dr. Stephen Young, a former assistant dean at Harvard Law School and later dean and professor of law at Hamlin Law School, is my guest. Dr. Young, thank you so much for being here and good to see you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Liz. It's, as usual, you pick important topics for us to think about.
I think this is an important one and really appreciate your insight here, Dr. Young. Aside from the impressive accomplishments on your resume, you are also the Global Executive Director of the Co Roundtable. It's an international network that promotes a principled approach to business leadership. You also serve on a special advisory board that supports the Pope and the Papal Conclave of the Catholic Church. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm sure our Catholic listeners would know immediately. Non-Catholics like myself traditionally didn't really focus on this, but since 1891, and this is important for the new Pope, the Pope then, who was Leo XIII, the new Pope has taken the name Leo XIV, and he's pointed out he did this to bring to attention the work of Leo XIII in 1891, which is to come up with what the Catholics call social teachings. I think most of us think about religion, if you will, as from ourselves, going up to the divinity. And we argue about the truth of God and this and that. But how should we live our lives? How should we be good husbands, good wives, good children, good citizens? That's at a social level. And the Catholic Church, with their various popes, have come up with, I'm going to say offhand, 10 or more documents, teaching documents, which they call Catholic social teachings. And there was one written by John Paul II in 1991, 100 years after the first one, which he calls 100 Years Centesimus Annus, which he wrote after the fall of communism. But his question is, if communism has failed, is capitalism really the best answer? Or can we apply moral expectations to capitalism, to owners of companies, to banks, to financial systems, to stockbrokers, to people who do construction, to people who come to our house and fix us, targets, et cetera, et cetera. And we think the answer is yes. We think that the relationship between people is, let's call it at the social level. And this, whether you're in a family, whether you're with friends, whether you're a citizen, there's a moral dimension to this, a dimension of responsibility. How are we to support other people? What can we expect from them to be good to us? But we're not the center of the universe. What should we expect of ourselves to be good to them?
You pointed out you are the only non-Catholic on this advisory board to the highest-ranking members of the Catholic Church. I know that alone is a story in and of itself. It's a good one. I've heard it before. But recently, you visited the Vatican. You heard from Pope Leo, the first American-born pope in history. What message did he share, and why is that meaningful, really, at this moment in Minnesota?
Well, again, speaking as a non-Catholic, Pope Leo addressed us, the board and the participants. It was the annual conference of our foundation, which is an organization of lay Catholics to promote this encyclical of John Paul II. And the Pope explained in his meeting with us that he is, as I mentioned earlier, he's very conscious of the work of social teachings, which is why he took his own name for his papacy from the previous pope, who focused in on social teachings. And he also, he spoke again to Catholics, but what he talked about this, I think, is applicable to all of us, regardless of our religion or our race or ethnicity. And one of his key points, which Catholics talk about a lot, and the rest of us, I think, not so much. Dear friends, as the Second Vatican Council, 50-odd years ago, said, in every age, the Church carries the responsibility of reading the signs of the times and of interpreting them in light of the gospel. So the phrase signs of the times, I think we should all take seriously. regardless of our religion, our wealth, or anything. What is going on in our time? What is going on that's good, that's affirmative, that's making our lives better, that gives us a sense of human dignity? And what is going on which is not so good? And if we read the signs of the times, and today I think most Americans agree, the polls show, we're not a happy people. We don't think our country's in the shape it was in the past. We're not sure where to go. We're very divided. So we are reading the signs of the times about ourselves. We have 2.5 wars going on in the world. There's killing in Africa that nobody pays attention to. These are not happy times in the world. So if we read the signs and we apply, the Pope is committed to applying the gospel of Jesus Christ. We could be secular, we could be Buddhist, but we still have moral values. We have moral aspirations as to how we should do something responsible in our times to make them better.
Another part of your work on the advisory board involves the study of the covenants that were given by the Prophet Muhammad about respecting and protecting Christians and Jews, something that's been overlooked for more than 1,000 years. It's really quite fascinating. What would you say, though, is now a pivotal time to be more fully understanding of the meaning of the covenants?
Liz, we stumbled in our co-roundtable work with Muslims because we apply the principles of moral capitalism to all religions and cultures. We stumbled on the fact that Muhammad gave covenants, I think 6 to 8 for Christians and 2 separate ones for Jewish communities, which are, in terms of our history, they're revolutionary. The Prophet is actually, there's been a lot of talk, I'm not Muslim either. Islam is a religion of peace. Well, there's been a whole lot of warfare. There's a lot of fighting going on right now. And yet the Prophet himself says that each Muslim, every one of his followers, until the end of time, has an obligation to respect and protect Christians and Jews. If these covenants were brought back to life, if you will, if they were revised, if the religion of Islam went back to these covenants, many, many problems would be solved in relationships, not only from the war between Palestinians and the Jews of Israel, but the assimilation of Muslims in Europe and the assimilation of the Somali community here in the Twin Cities.
You talk a lot about this mutual respect and understanding beyond our borders, and we're about to mark 250 years as a country, right here in America, the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up next year. How specifically could the covenants, other social teachings of the church, this is all kind of coming up, bubbling up to the surface, but how could that benefit society in America? Why are they so important at this moment?
I would suggest, Liz, that one of the reasons our times are not so good, and one of the reasons we're having trouble figuring out what to do is, as many people talk about it, excessive individualism. And frankly, it sort of started with my generation, the baby boomers, the me generation. We have a great philosophy in America about entitlement. We don't care so much about each other. I mean, look at the rates of depression, of loneliness. There have been recent articles about people seeking solitude. They have no friends. They don't have relatives. I mean, this is a deep sadness. How do you bring people together? The covenants were in the Abrahamic tradition of covenant. You and I sign an agreement to do something, to live up to certain standards. The Declaration of Independence was a covenant. It says, we the people, and the Constitution takes it farther. It says, we the people. The Declaration of Independence said, we who live in these colonies, these British colonies in North America, we are coming together to assert our rights. And I think the last sentence in the Declaration says, of the people who signed it, including one of my ancestors, Lewis Morris, says, we hereby pledge, we make a pledge to be responsible, to sacrifice ourselves, to do what's good for the community, to be part of the common good. So I'm just wondering if at the 250th anniversary, we might not consider a new covenant, a new American covenant, which takes in far more people and religions than were really in this country as part of that government, mostly whites from England. But if we did a new covenant could we then draw forth from our people commitment and a sense of responsibility, a sense of sharing, a sense of respecting each other?
Dr. Young, I know you've also written a few very insightful books, including your most recent work, Kissinger's Betrayal. The book takes a closer look at what really happened during the Vietnam War and offers more than a few lessons that we can learn from the past as well. I want to thank you, Dr. Young. Appreciate you being my guest. Thank you for your time. That will do it for this episode of Liz Collin Reports. We'll see you next time.